Well, we got a lot to go through, so let's just dive into it.
Don't we?
It's quite a list, isn't it?
Uh-huh. It's WWDC time again, and that means we're joined by longtime friend of the show, Christian Selig. It's good to have you back.
Pleasure to be back.
Man, first of all, I don't even know if we're worthy to have such a big superstar on the show now that Apollo has been featured in WWDC.
I could not believe that. Yeah, no, that blew my mind. I was, a friend texted me that he like caught it, and I was messaging him to try to say where did he see it? And then my girlfriend was watching the keynote beside me and was like, Apollo. And I was like, what's going on? And because it came up a second time, I think, on the home screen, and yeah, it was grinning ear to ear. I couldn't believe it. I must have a friend somewhere there if it's on Craig's iPad or something.
Is that the first time you've had an appearance at any of Apple's shows or videos?
Last year, I was fortunate enough to be in a WWDC session on shortcuts, by one of the lovely shortcuts engineers who I met a few years back. She's really nice. So, I was there, but this is the first time I was properly even, mentioned in passing in the keynote, I think. Well, not mentioned, but, shown in passing.
You definitely hit the big time then, that's for sure.
Yeah, no, I'm going to have to try to print that out and frame that one slide of Craig's hands.
Yeah. It's now canon that Craig Federici is an Apollo user.
I'll take it.
All right. Well, this was an interesting WWDC for me. It's definitely a polish update. There wasn't a ton of new features. There's a couple tent poles, I think. And yet somehow it felt very long. And I made a list as the keynote was going on about all of the features to discuss. And I think this is the longest list of stuff, even though a lot of it feels small. So hopefully we'll be able to get through this quickly, but there's definitely a lot here.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah, I was happy to see the sort of releases that were coming, because oftentimes Apple does like a feature to, 3/5 done and then doesn't see an update for ages. Well, that's still the case for some of the things here, but this time all of the updates were kind of updates on things that have already been released or announced. Yeah, like you said, it's even more than a polish update. It's like a version 2 update, which so frequently is forgotten about. Although if you look at something like FaceTime, it took, I don't know what, like a decade to get a version 2 almost. So, yeah. But yeah, I was extremely happy.
They really went all out with FaceTime.
Yeah. We could probably start with that, since that was the first thing they talked about, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it was, wasn't it?
So, first of all, it only took, 11 years for FaceTime to finally kind of become the open standard that Steve Jobs said it was going to be when he unveiled it on stage alongside the iPhone 4. I think the story goes that was to the surprise of all the FaceTime engineers at the time.
Really?
Yeah, I think that was a last-minute addition he threw in the slide where he's just, by the way, this is going to be an open standard.
I'd love to read one of the Apple engineers write a book or something who was on that team and see how that went. He goes, yeah, it's one thing to announce it out of the blue, but another thing to just I assume whatever Jobs said would happen. And for it not to have came to fruition, I imagine it was some patent mix-up or something, but I'd love to see what didn't happen there.
That was pretty much exactly it, because when FaceTime was initially launched, it was a peer-to-peer technology. So Apple didn't incur any costs from FaceTime calls happening. But due to some kind of patent issue, it had to be reworked a few years later, and all calls now have to be relayed through a server of Apple's. And I imagine that the fact that FaceTime calls now cost them money, they didn't want to open it up to more people to be using it for free.
Huh. I wonder why they structured it peer-to-peer at the beginning then. That's fascinating.
Apple's, especially under Jobs, but just in general, has always been notorious for do whatever we want and we'll get the rights to do it later. I don't even think they had the rights to iPhone in some countries when they launched it. So,
David, you didn't say what this sweet solution they came up with was to open up FaceTime now.
All right, enlighten us.
It's FaceTime in the web browser. Crowd goes wild. I bet the crowd would have gone mild if it was
Yeah.
live, though, because who wants FaceTime in a web browser? I mean, if you're desperate,
I mean,
come on.
it's better than nothing.
Yeah, but barely.
But how does it work though? Like, so if I want to call my Android friend, I have to generate a link, or is it only if it's like a group of more than two?
Right. I think it's exactly that. Anyone who's not on an iPhone is going to have to use a link to join the call.
Okay. So even if it's just me and my mom's on Android or something, I'd have to generate a link, and then we'd be able to make something happen.
Yeah, I believe that's the use case. I haven't seen anyone actually try it out yet. I don't even know if it's live with the betas.
Right. No, that's pretty awesome though, because honestly, I was like super stoked by that feature, because the other week we had plans to have a few friends over to watch a movie, and of course COVID flared up really bad in Eastern Canada, so they locked us all down, and that wasn't going to happen. And then like in order to watch the movie on one of those like everybody watches it on their own screen features, everybody needed to buy the movie. So it ended up being like, for the 10 of us, it would have been like $200 or something crazy. Versus, just one of us getting it before. And this looks really neat in that it just seems like one person has to, get the rights to whatever you're watching. Then you can just kind of shoot it over to everybody over FaceTime, which seemed a lot better than the kind of antiquated way of making every single person get it. So it seems like something that would have been great to have like 6 months ago when most of the US was still locked down.
Right. Yeah, the technology specifically that you're referencing is called Share Play, and I think a lot of people were hypothesizing that FaceTime would get some kind of screen sharing feature just because it's kind of a necessity in today's world. But yeah, it was really nice to see Apple kind of go above and beyond and allow you to share media, either audio or video, and then synchronously play it back on multiple devices. I think that's going to be a fun feature exactly for the use case you just described.
The biggest part for me,
and I imagine
sorry, you go, Christian.
No, sorry, I was just going to ask, do you know, I'm curious if it's if it is it purely screen sharing? So if my connection's kind of crappy, it's going to be chugging through, Lord of the Rings at like 10 frames per second. I imagine it's not feeding them like a URL Chromecast style or something.
I don't believe that it is exactly screen sharing, because they even demoed you can be watching a show on your Apple TV with also a FaceTime call going on your phone, and somehow that's all staying in sync. So I think it is some version of I imagine the technology is playing locally on both ends.
Right. Oh, that's awesome then.
Yeah.
The biggest part of SharePlay for me, as someone with parents, is the device screen sharing. So when mum calls me up and says, how do I find an email in Mail, I can say, well, just share your screen with me, and I can literally look at what you're doing and then find out you've got a filter turned on or something like that. So thank goodness. I mean, it's been kind of built into the Mac forever, right? With like iChat, and it's hidden away in one of the little sub menus in iMessage or the Messages app on the Mac as well. But so it's going to be a button in FaceTime. Oh, it's going to be great.
I'm kind of surprised you couldn't do that. And there was no way to do that on the iPhone before, yeah?
I think you could in some corporate scenarios with...
Yeah, maybe that makes, because I remember one time I had like I did the whole Apple Care support thing where they share a link or something, and they can see your screen and walk you through stuff. Where like I had a product where it was like call in to activate Apple Care, and it was so embarrassing because the woman just walked me through how to go on the website and click buy Apple Care, and I felt like like my grandparents being like, oh, okay. I just clicked the buy Apple Care button and enter my credit card. Thank you. Okay, bye. But it was pretty cool to see her like just being able to share the screen and do everything. So yeah, that would be super helpful for parental stuff.
It just needed to be an easier button for people to tap on, I think, and just accessible and open for everyone to use, so that everyone can support their parents or whoever it might be that needs help.
Oh my gosh, yeah, no, trying to yell instructions when both of you are feeling around in the dark is
yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah, that's the worst for everybody.
And the cool thing about this is they've opened this SharePlay API up to third parties. So some integrations that are already coming out will be like Disney Plus. You can watch Disney Plus shows in sync. You can watch Twitch streams in sync, and even like the popular short media app TikTok. You can watch TikTok videos together. So I think this is going to be really fun, especially for those maybe shorter content length use cases where you want to watch a bunch of TikToks. That'd be harder to keep in sync. Whereas watching a movie, you can kind of do that already.
You said TikTok like you're a grandparent, David. It's like, how do I say this word?
I said the word TikTok weird?
I thought so. Like...
I think there was like a skip and a beat between the tick and the talk that he picked up on.
The TikTok app. Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, the kids are on there.
Yeah, that and the Facebook.
The Facebook. When I was in high school, we had an assembly, and the principal was talking about social media. And he said something about, I know all you guys have got all these social media apps on your phones with the Twit and the SnapScan, and that's my favorite example of an old.
What is SnapScan?
I believe he's saying Snapchat, but
Snapchat was around when you were in high school, though.
Yeah, I was in high school in 2009 through 2012.
Wow, Snapchat's way older than I thought it was then. Wow.
Yeah, that's crazy. I graduated in 2011, and I don't have any recollection of Snapchat.
Really?
Huh. Your school must have been a lot more hip than mine. I think you Americans are into all the trends sooner than we are. We get it whatever you're done with.
Maybe Snapchat hadn't made it to Canada yet.
Yeah, no, it was... I'm not even, it might not even be big here at all. Like, we might use some weird local thing. I've never got into the whole Snapchat thing.
Snapchat came out in September 2011. So it was at the very end of high school.
Gotcha. I was June 2011, so I just missed the bus.
We didn't really have mobile phones when I was in high school, so...
You guys do, like, pen pals or something?
Yeah.
You write letters to each other? And
Yeah. The pen had it was a feather. We just, like, rated pigeons for feathers and then...
Right.
Anyway.
Oh, okay. No, I've heard of that.
You're not that much older, James. Cell phones existed.
Yeah, they did, but it was pretty uncommon for like a 14, 15-year-old to have a phone until my last year of school, which was 2004, so yeah.
And they had to be tethered to the wall at all times, right?
Yeah, it was mobile.
That would really limit your mobility.
As far as the cord would stretch.
Right.
Mobility, yeah, exactly.
Right. So it's a little limiting. But no, I agree. I think the integrations with third-party apps will be pretty cool. Like, I'd love to do something with Apollo just because Reddit has, like, its knockoff TikTok with, like, the TikTok cringe subreddits kind of thing, and just going through, or some of, like, just the subreddits around people falling down and hurting themselves. Those are fun to experience with other people. I'm curious to see what the API will look like. I haven't really had a chance to dig in if it's easy to integrate with, like, if you're playing video, you're mostly done, kind of like the AirPlay API is right now, or if it's some crazy thing altogether. But it's should be pretty fun.
You haven't read through all the documentation yet, Christian.
No, today's mostly been like my WWDC is like very broad strokes at the beginning. I kind of just try to like take everything in and like put little check boxes by what I want to look at. And what everyone else is freaking out about, so I can come back to it later. And then, like, as the days go on, I narrow the scope a little bit more and more until I can hone in on what is probably more important.
Well, I think we're at the 3+ years since the first time we had you on the show, and you said you were working on and almost done with an iPad app.
Did I say I was almost done?
Maybe almost done. I think is being generous for the first.
I might have
time
said that.
On.
Yeah. Last year I might have embellished a little bit.
So if we're talking about priorities, let's fair.
That's fair.
Look at that.
No, you're not wrong. You got me there. But you know what? If next year I come on and say something will have gone catastrophically wrong, so you can hold my feet to the fire then.
All right. We will hold you to that.
After the show, I've got a list of features for you as well, Christian. So, hold on after.
Please. I love that.
Only kidding.
Yeah, we actually just have you on to bombard you.
No, I honestly would love that. I do still very much like getting feature requests. It's a lot nicer, especially when it's kind of like this, not in person, but, back and forth format. Like, once in a while, I'll go to the local Apple store, and a few of the people there use Apollo, and I'll be able to get like, it's nice to have a feature request and be immediately able to be like, what do you mean by that? And then have that back and forth. Whereas over text, it's a little more abstract and hard to get points across. So it's fire away, man.
Maybe that's a case for a Apollo Discord channel where you can like get in and chat with people.
That's true. Yeah, no, I know. Like, yeah, a lot of people love having that kind of like the user studies thing where they sit people down in the chair and take notes and everything. But I'm too isolated, I guess, to do that normally. So maybe Discord would be good.
But then you can't hook them up to like the brainwave things, whatever they're called. That's what I'm picturing.
Oh, like a full-out polygraph?
Yeah, like when you sit someone down in a chair, you need to hook them up, little patches on their head, shave their hair off in little spots. Yeah, you really need to.
That's true. Yeah, what if it's one of the narwhal guys and he's just bullshitting me? I gotta make sure they're not lying.
Yeah, definitely polygraph them.
Yeah.
A few more things coming to FaceTime, just quickly, I guess. Spatial audio, voice isolation. Well, it seems like a toggle. Voice isolation, all wide spectrum, so it picks up everything in the room. And portrait mode, which I wouldn't have billed as a desirable feature or really warranted, but when I'm talking via video to colleagues most days, and a lot of them do have not really portrait mode, but like a mode that blurs the background, and it is actually quite a nice mode just to not be distracted by whoever's got something on the wall and you can't help looking at it. So yeah, I think it's a nice little feature to sprinkle in there, and why not if the phones have got depth sensing like already built in.
Yeah, I must have missed that one. They've got like the computational power to do portrait and live video now. That's crazy.
Apparently so.
Well, not only will this come to iPhones, but even Macs are going to be getting portrait mode in FaceTime. So it seems like they actually don't need the depth information at all, and it's going to be all computationally done.
I wonder if they use it though, if they do get it.
I'm almost wondering if it's just like the Zoom green screen effects you can do, or kind of like the iChat old ones where it's a lot dumber.
That's what they should do, is bring photo booth backgrounds into FaceTime.
Yeah, I want the frog.
Where you're on the roller coaster.
The roller coaster.
Oh man, now that brings me back to high school. Yeah, I don't know. I just feel like if they were using like the depth sensors and they could actually like do all that, pulling out the individual strands of hair, 24 or 30 times per second in a video format, they'd be bragging about that at like the iPhone 12 Pro Max launch or something. That seems like a pretty crazy breakthrough, because I think like Samsung and some of the other phones are trying to do that. So you can record videos for like YouTube and make it look like you're on like an SLR with the whole shallow depth of field and everything. And from what I understand, it just looks pretty garbage on most other phones. So I don't know. I feel like it must be one of like the dumber green screen effects rather than something that crazy.
Yeah, I'm sure you're right.
One could hope.
All right. I think that is about all that's new in FaceTime. So then next they went on to messages, which didn't seem like there was a whole lot. There's a lot to do with shared information. So if someone you're in a chat with sends you an article or a song or a photo or something similar, you can view those still in your message thread, but also in their respective apps. So there'll be a shared with you section in your photos and a shared with you section in the podcast app. So all of those things you've been sent are grouped kind of in a place where you'll be more ready to consume them. Whereas if someone sent me a podcast, I maybe wouldn't listen to it immediately in my messages, but the next time I open my podcast app, it'd be nice to be presented with that so that I could maybe play that instead of whatever else I was going in there for.
That's pretty clever.
Yeah, we'll see how that works.
Yeah, because a lot of the time you get something when you're just walking down the street and it might not be the best time to consume it.
So, and then they kind of just cleaned up the UI a little bit. If you get sent a bunch of photos at once, they come in a collage view. So they're kind of grouped together in the thread, and you can swipe through them. So I haven't gotten a chance to experience that yet, but we'll see how intuitive and nice that actually ends up being.
Yeah, no, it sounds really nice on paper. Anything they can do to like clean up the kind of information overload you get from messaging friends and shooting memes back and forth by the hundreds, it can get pretty overwhelming.
I'm a little worried about when people send me photos, it's suddenly going to appear in my photo library. Like, my photo library is my photo library. I don't really want to see other people's photos in there. Even in the grid view, it looked like. So I'm hoping you can actually turn that off. That was my takeaway from messages. I hope you can turn this off.
That's fair. Yeah, I'd be interested to use it more. I feel like they must have thought of that, or like when they tested their users and had their phone calls with them, they must have ran into that, because yeah, that would be kind of weird just to see somebody's like random meme in the middle of your beautiful pictures on a trip to Tahoe for the weekend.
Yeah, that's right. It's going to become another U2 Songs of Innocence if they just stick stuff on my phone that I don't want.
They did claim this was very intelligent. They specifically said you wouldn't see things like memes cluttering up your photo library, and it would somehow only put relevant photos into it automatically, things that it says you were there for. So I don't know if that's going to leverage location of the photo versus location of your phone to determine those things, or how that's going to be done. But
Interesting.
They seem confident in whatever neural network they have making these decisions.
Okay, I'll reserve judgment until I use it then.
So now the only thing they're missing, and I was kind of disappointed to see wasn't announced, they've got FaceTime in the browser. I'd love to see iMessage in the browser, but we're not quite there yet, apparently.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah, that would be a tricky one. I feel like at that point they'd have to go all in on having like an Android app, because I mean at that point you've already basically made it open to everybody, except the experience on Android would just be garbage. So you might as well go the whole 9 yards and make it a good Android app too. And yeah, I don't know if they're ready to do that yet. All those emails from the
Epic
what do
trial.
we call it, discovery at the yeah seemed like they weren't exactly ready to open that door.
Craig loves his iPhone families. Isn't that what he called it?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, you don't want to break down that wall.
This is just the desperate plea of someone who has to work on a PC for his jobby job. So,
oh, I didn't even think about that.
yeah.
Yeah, so you have to whip out your iPhone all the time like a caveman.
I usually have my iPad sitting on the Magic Keyboard so I can respond to stuff quickly.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
That's
not a
bad.
great it's not a great setup. I would prefer it to be just on my computer.
That's fair. Okay, I see where you're coming from.
All right, next new feature of iOS 15 is called Focus. It seems to be a supercharged Do Not Disturb, where you can have different statuses you can configure on your phone, such as working or sleeping or a conventional Do Not Disturb, and then a lot of customization for each of those statuses. Things like which notifications should and shouldn't be delivered, or which people should and shouldn't be able to contact you, and even what your home screen should look like. You can have custom home screens for each status and only show you whatever apps you want to see when you're in work mode or whatever.
I've actually already had this feature once in my life on a Nokia 3310. You could set it to home or work or whatever, and basically customize all the, well, obviously didn't really have apps and things, but set the ringer to be silent or to be loud and the message tone to various different tones. So nice to see that profiles have made it to the iPhone. That was very cynical. Sorry.
No, it's not. Have you had a chance to use it yet?
I'm confused by it. I've got the beta on my phone.
Okay, good. I'm not the only one. It confused me too.
And
Like I have it on my iPad now, and I'm looking at it, and I just I must be missing something, because I tap on it and it's like, do not disturb personal or work, and like I don't mind being disturbed. I just it's my iPad, like, you know, bug me all you want. And so is that personal? But if I tap on it, it's like silences notifications, something, and I'm just like, I disturb me all you want. Give me whatever was there before.
right, yeah. I noticed after updating to the beta, I got my regular notification, like the podcast coming up. I said 30 minutes till the podcast. And there was some other text on this notification said time-sensitive notification. And it had a prompt that asked if I still wanted to receive notifications from the calendar app, which is a prompt that we've seen in past versions of iOS. And so my usual response to something like the calendar app is, of course, I still want to get notifications from it. But if I clicked accept, I got text saying that accepting this would allow calendar to override Do Not Disturb, and it would still send me notifications, which in my mind defeats the purpose of Do Not Disturb mode. I don't use it almost ever except for while I'm recording the podcast. And this is the one situation where I do not want to be disturbed. I don't want to hear dings coming from my background while I'm recording. I don't want a call to take over my microphone while I'm on my Mac and trying to speak. So Do Not Disturb needs to be absolute for me. And the fact that whether or not I want to receive notifications from certain apps seems to allow them to override Do Not Disturb. Sounds like it could be.
That's a good point. I almost feel like I'm the exact same way. Whenever I activate it, it's normally because I'm like screen recording something and I don't want a notification to come in, or recording something, and it's like to the extent that I think they'd almost benefit from a level of Do Not Disturb that's just like, I'm recording something explicitly, like do not show anything because like there's nothing I want on screen right now short of my building's on fire.
It just feels too much like I'm going to be micromanaging my devices to I don't know. I don't want to have to micromanage it. Like, I don't want to say I'm at work now and then X happens, or I'm going to bed now and Y happens, and then I don't really know what's going to happen because some of it's ML driven or whatever. Yeah, I don't know. I'll have to wait to see it.
Yeah, like I totally get why some people would benefit, but it's, yeah, I completely agree. I can see why it would be good for some people, but I don't really use my iPad like that. When I pick it up, it's just kind of like a little magazine, and if people want to message me while I'm using it, like, yeah, all the power to them.
I think we're the worst group of people to be judging this feature.
Why?
Because there's 3 people here who work entirely from home, and the idea of being disturbed, it doesn't matter. Whereas someone who maybe has to go into an office environment every day, a work mode might be a lot more valuable to them, where they don't want certain apps like social media to get through to them at all during that time. So maybe there's people that are outside of kind of our very narrow pool here that this could be very useful for.
That's fair. Like, yeah, I guess I totally get that. I just, where my confusion comes from is like, I literally just have no idea how to get the moon icon off my home screen. Like, I just want to be disturbed. And whenever I tap personal, it's like, who do you want to let disturb you? And I'm like, everybody. But yeah, I don't know. It's whenever I add a feature and I'm like, if everybody's not going to use this, like, please give me a way to make it so they can get out of it really quickly and say no thank you. And I just feel like I'm missing something. It might be beta 1 where it's just a bug or something, so I'm holding off judgment. But yeah, I'm a little
Well, you can have just no status, like no focus mode on.
How do you get to that?
You're trying to live in personal mode? I think that's...
Well, see, like,
unless
I tap the moon on the lock screen, and I just have the options for Do Not Disturb personal or work, or add a new focus. And I don't want to focus.
If you tap the active one, does it turn off?
Oh. Yeah, that did it.
This is why I work in tech support.
Right.
Okay, that did it. Oh, okay. See, I thought it was choose which one you want to be in. Oh. Oops. Now I feel like the old...
Checkboxes, not radio buttons.
Right. Well, I feel like there should be a more explicit checkbox then. To me, it looked like it was like a choose one of these options. Like, I didn't see like a cancel. Okay.
Maybe there should just be an allow all status. So you've always got a status no matter what it is.
Or just put like a little checkbox beside the one you have enabled. Yeah, no, that's interesting. Okay, well, thank you for getting me out of that.
Well, another equally confusing aspect of this new focus feature to me is the idea of notification summaries. It seems like you can configure some mode that won't deliver your notifications immediately, but then will group them up and deliver at least the least important ones to you at predefined times. And this is another case where it feels like you're going to have to micromanage your phone. So either it's doing this intelligently, which I would never trust my phone to know what notifications I do and don't care about absolutely, or I've got to go into every single app and configure which ones I would and wouldn't care about, which would be extremely tedious.
I don't think it even works on like an app-by-app basis because, e.g. Instagram, you get DMs from Instagram, but you also get just tons of junk as well. So how do you even configure that on an app-by-app basis?
Yeah, no, I completely agree. It seems like they're almost trying to make it like magazine-y or something, which makes sense because it's pretty easy to get notification overload, but it's, yeah, like I would not want to be working on that notifications team because that's a really hard problem to solve. Like just figuring out which of those million Instagram notifications you were talking about are actually worth looking at.
It seems like maybe this is just like I'm being a grumpy old man about this, and the future really is just leaning entirely on machine learning and letting your phone show you the things that you care about and just trusting that it will know. But I just can't trust my device absolutely to do that for me. So I'd rather have it all off than miss a single notification one time because it didn't think it was important.
No, I completely agree. And it only takes once to get burned, and then you'll never trust it again.
They also touted kind of a redesigned notification UI, which it is slightly different, but only in the slightest way. App icons are a little bigger in the notifications now, so you can more clearly see where this notification is coming from. And something I prefer quite a bit, messages coming in now show the contact photo of the person sending you a message instead of just the generic messages app icon.
Yeah, I kind of like the avatar thing, because getting like a tweet or something, being able to see at a glance that it's from so-and-so with a little Twitter icon on the bottom would be nicer than just seeing like a blue bird all the time. But yeah, I don't know if it'll work for every app, because like for Apollo, I'm not sure everybody wants to see, I don't know, like a random user snoo thing from a guy with 2 karma that, you know, created his account yesterday. Like the icon's not going to mean very much to you.
And has like a porn as its avatar.
Yeah, that's a good point too. Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know, but it'll be nice for some apps though. I feel like Twitter and stuff, it'll be really handy to have.
Right. And this seems to go hand in hand with kind of what Apple was describing as trying to determine which notifications are a priority. Because I said they prioritize notifications from people. So it seems like situations where you would see an avatar or a person's photograph, those are the notifications you'd get immediately. And then more generic things are the ones that would get grouped into these notification summaries.
Yeah, one of us will have to jump onto the messages session and just have a look at how this is going to work. Let us know exactly.
The next segment of iOS 15 was kind of just a general catch-all they called intelligence. And the big feature of this intelligence was live text, or the ability to highlight and select text either from your live viewfinder in your camera or from photos in your photo library.
Yeah, that looked really slick. I was pretty impressed by that.
Yeah.
Especially for like a lot of the accessibility uses, like it'll be great for getting a phone call or a phone number or whatever, but actually being able to see something in front of you and read it out to you, I imagine for a lot of people it would be pretty transformative.
Right, and lots of applications in the past have, there's lots of OCR applications that have existed over the years, but the fact that Apple is implementing it on the operating system level, I think will encourage a lot more people to use it. Either for disability reasons or convenience reasons. I know I wouldn't necessarily trust any OCR app from the App Store. I wouldn't necessarily want to grant access to my photo library to some app that's going to be parsing it for data. A company like Apple, I at least trust with that information.
You know what this smelled of to me? This smelled of the AR team is developing it for the AR goggles or glasses or whatever's coming, and they're like, the photos team was like, wow, that looks really good. Can we just put that feature kind of into what we've got now? And then that's how we ended up with text in photos recognition. Imagine that in an AR appliance. It seems like a day one sort of feature that you would have there to be able to pull text out of reality.
Oh no, for sure. And especially from like an accessibility standpoint, being able to like, look at a menu and just have everything read out to you. That would be crazy. Rather than having to have, I don't know what you traditionally do there, have a waiter or a waitress read it to you. But yeah, that would be pretty incredible, especially in the context of some AR glasses.
I think a lot of things we've been seeing recently are the fruits of this AR project. The OCR technology that you just referenced, the AR directional stuff we'll get to in a little bit, and maps, even kind of bigger scale, the spatial audio stuff that's being implemented everywhere is going to go great in an AR context. The accessibility features to control your Apple Watch that Apple announced last month, where you can make gestures with your hand to interact with your Apple Watch. Those kind of gestures are going to be essential for controlling applications in AR. So I think all of this stuff is going to go hand in hand to build this AR experience. We're seeing them piece it together slowly over the last couple of years.
Yeah, it must be. I can't imagine how enormous an undertaking it must be to kind of recapture the world in a different medium altogether. So yeah, I guess it kind of makes sense to not wait until you've done everything perfectly, but to iterate it out and get it out there and get feedback on it as you have some cool stuff to show off.
Yeah, I still have yet to see a legitimate useful case for this LiDAR technology Apple's been slapping and everything.
That's true. I've seen some people like scan their apartments to create a floor plan really quickly. That seemed pretty cool to me, just to be able to have that handy for a variety of things, just fitting furniture in or what have you. But it's definitely kind of one of those one and done things that once you do it the first time, you're probably good.
Photos are finally coming to Spotlight. A notable absence, but you just couldn't search for photos. Like even if you put in some text, there was no like search in photos from the Spotlight screen. So there's always a couple of taps like photos, search, and then type in your search term. And the photo search is just so good, like searches by object, searches by location and faces, and that's already all there. But now you can just do it straight from Spotlight. So it saves a couple of taps, bit of a time saver.
No, that's pretty nice to have. That's another one that I'm surprised wasn't there before, because like you said, I'd want to put that front and center. It's crazy how good at it. Like honestly, most of the time I just use it to type in cat and see cat pictures, but it's impressive enough that I would have put that on the home screen sooner.
They also have an enhanced contact view in Spotlight, which as I was reading from the notes, I realized I wasn't sure what that meant. So I just typed in a contact name in Spotlight in my phone, and it is incredible. So I type a person's name, I see their contact information like normal, but I also see photos therein. I see our messages conversations. I see times I've sent them money in the Wallet app. I see emails from them, reminders that they are included in. All of this just in my contact view in Spotlight.
Huh. Wow.
That's great.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that would have been a nightmare to track down all of those individual things before. Oh, wow. Yeah. Spotlight team was pretty on the money this year.
And then also, Photos memories have gotten a little bit of a improvement this year with Apple Music integration. So you can choose your own background music for your memories. And then also, instead of them being kind of just a video you can either watch, you can pause it by holding on the memory or swipe through them just like their list of photos.
Yeah, those memory features are always so cool. Like whenever you get a random one that's like, hey, we made this thing for you, it always puts a smile on my face. So any improvements there are pretty welcome for me.
They are definitely a family favorite around my place. This is one of those features where this is like the version 2 on something that was already good, so now it seems like it's great. So I can't wait to try it out.
Mm-hmm.
No, I love those little delightful things.
Next big app that got an update is the Wallet app. First of all, car keys now have ultra wideband support.
Didn't they already?
So instead of they had NFC, so you could tap to unlock, but now it's completely proximity based with ultra wideband, so you don't have to take your phone out of your pocket at all.
Yeah, like that's so cool. But in the back of my head, I'm just like, wasn't Tesla doing exactly that in like 2017 or something? So I mean, it's awesome that it's becoming something more cars can hook into, and hopefully they won't take as long as they did with CarPlay and Android Auto. But it just seems like something that has existed before. And when they came out with it initially and had it so you had to like boop the car door with your phone, and the Teslas are just doing like, I think Bluetooth or something, so it's not as cool as ultra wideband, but it just seemed like I was surprised they didn't have some contactless version of it prior to this.
And this has kind of been the regular way to interact with your car for the last decade. Key fobs that unlock your car as you walk up and push to start has existed for a long time in other forms. So it's nice to just finally see this kind of rolled into your phone. Yeah,
and especially with the I'm sure we won't ever see it in Canada, but they were mentioning some states have like the license split or the license driver's license integration. So I mean, we're not far off a world where you could, if you're going for a drive, you just grab your phone and go, and you're connects to your car, unlocks your car, starts up your car, you get pulled over, you have your license right there. I'd be pretty happy with that.
And they've also added support for things like a corporate badge. I know I have an NFC badge to get in and out of my office. So if I can incorporate that into my phone, that's awesome. And then, of course, hotel room keys is not a new thing, but they did tout it. And then also house keys. They're going to support smart locks that also use their home key technology.
That's so interesting. So I asked this knowing nothing about NFC, but I just wish you could like take any existing NFC thing you have and turn your iPhone into like a replicator of it or something. So like I have a fob to get into my apartment that I'm sure is the most low tech thing ever. But if I could just smack my iPhone against the apartment door to get in rather than my fob, that'd be awesome because I'd never forget it again. But I assume with this, you have to integrate some technology that I doubt my old apartment building is ever going to do.
Well, what you just described is 100% technically possible. So.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, yeah. NFC is a very low security technology. So there's no reason you couldn't touch your phone to your whatever badge and it scan the information off that badge and then save it to replicate later. I don't know if that's how Apple's going to implement it or if they're worried about the security implications of something like that. Probably would be worried about that because that means you could use your phone to walk by someone and like put your phone by someone's pocket and get their keys. So I imagine they're not going to support that, but that's also what I would want because I also don't trust my company to ever actually integrate with whatever technology Apple does end up going with.
Yeah, I just feel like there's such an overlap between like lock companies, for lack of a better term, like the people who make like the hotel keys and the normal locks and whatnot, that they're just not necessarily the fastest to update on their end, and the partners, the hotels or whatever that they partner with, I feel like they're also very slow to update. So this seems like a feature that's like super nice on paper and for maybe brand new hotels popping up. But I'm just thinking about like the economy hotels I ball up to when I'm going on a trip. I can't imagine, like half of them probably still have like a keychain they hand you like some ancient movie that it would be nice if there was like a really dumb solution where you could just smack your hotel key card against your phone and have it replicated. But yeah, I'm sure you're right where there's a million security concerns for that.
I am slightly optimistic about them potentially doing something like that because I never in a million years would have guessed that Apple's solution for having an ID card in your phone is just take a picture of the one you already have. So
that's true. Yeah, you're right. And I mean, to solve like the walking by attack, for lack of a better term, I suppose you could even just have something like you have to leave it there for 30 seconds for the pairing to complete, or something like that too. Because if it's possible on one end, I mean, I guess Apple doesn't want to make it any easier, but I'm assuming if it's that possible, you could just grab a $20 thing off Amazon to accomplish the exact same walking by somebody at the grocery store kind of thing. So it's not as if it would be crazy to do, but it would certainly make it a lot more convenient for me.
Yeah, I'm on the exact same page. I hope that is the implementation. And maybe this is common knowledge spelled out in a document somewhere, but I have yet to see anyone actually explain how that technology is going to work.
Yeah, because I know like with back when Animal Crossing was really big last year, like there was the whole amiibo craze to try to get like specific villagers or whatever, and it was quite a struggle there's a whole community around spoofing them where you buy like some writable NFC tag on Amazon and then you can basically spoof the amiibos, but it was all very specific as to which ones you had to get and which ones were compatible, and it would be great in a world where you could just any NFC broadcaster could become very easily writable and you could just shoot everything off of that, because I hate grabbing things when I have to leave the house. Like just grabbing my iPhone and leaving is such a futuristic ideal for me that I'd love so much, but just doesn't quite seem to be there yet.
Also, the weather app seems like a pretty big revamp thanks to their dark sky acquisition a couple years ago. Lots of more data like wind, UV index, barometric pressure added to the view, as well as just a lot of really nice new animations and a weather map, which didn't look like it was quite a radar view, but something close to that.
Yeah, that's the part I'm most excited about, because if I look at my weather app now, it's got wind, it's got UV, it's got barometric pressure. The only thing I go anywhere else for is a rain map, just to see precisely when it's going to rain, instead of just relying on like 12 p.m., 30%, blah, blah, blah. So, yeah, very cool to see that sort of thing coming. The maps didn't, I don't know. I'll wait till I see the maps to see exactly how precise it is. But it's a bit weird that the whole purchase of Dark Sky just went to this. There's not really much there. You said it was a big update. I would say it's like a tiny update, a few new animations and a couple more metrics, which seems to already be there for me.
Yeah, I guess they really wanted to get rid of that what was it, the Weather Network logo at the bottom there. So they spent billions probably on acquiring a company so they could.
And every 10th time you ask the HomePod for the weather, it's like, this is provided by the Weather Channel or whatever it is. So
no, that was probably driving some executive crazy.
I bet.
But I think like at the app level, I think even if like visually they kept similar design, I think it was pretty big because I think it's all Swift UI now. So it was completely rewritten, at least at the code level, to do a bunch of new stuff. So it wouldn't surprise me if this is like a new starting off point for them, because they had like some of the cool stuff. Like I really liked, everybody seemed to be talking about it, where like the precipitation would bounce off the collection view cells in a cool way, which seemed pretty neat. So it's interesting in some ways. I think like you can tell it's a rewrite in some ways, but they definitely kept like a similar feel. It wasn't completely going out to right field with the design.
Yeah. Are you on the beta yet, James? Have you had a chance to update? Are you going to update?
No, I'm not on there. I probably will at some point, maybe not straight away. Wait and see what people think after a few days on stability. Some years we get just like rock solid from beta 1, and then some years you're still crashing on beta 5. So we'll see what people say.
All right. Well, I think once you get the beta and you open the weather app, you'll appreciate it, because it's similar, but it's very, very pretty. It's a lot nicer than the old one.
All right, I look forward to it.
Yeah, it really feels like with the old one, it was like layers of paint on like the old iOS, 4 code base. But this one feels like they actually, you can feel that it's rewritten. Like it feels like they started over in a lot of ways. And it's like, I completely agree. You've got to try it. It has a nice feel to it.
All right. And now the biggest update for you, James. Apple's new maps are coming to Australia this year.
Woohoo, yeah. Happy to say that. I suspected something like this might be happening because, as I had told you a few weeks ago, David, I was just out like doing a bushwalk. Like there's a fairly decent size bit of bush nearby. And it's not paved or anything. It's just like dirt paths. And I was in the bush, and then there's two guys with massive backpacks walk past, and it says Apple Maps on the back. Like, guys, what are you doing in the middle of the bush? So Apple is clearly mapping every square meter of Perth at the moment, for them to be in such a weird spot. So yeah, the writing.
So when you say the bush, are you saying you were out in a forest?
I guess you call it a forest, yeah.
Like, are we talking like like there were trees everywhere?
Yes.
Okay, gotcha.
Your Aussie is showing, James.
By calling it a bush.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, like to me, a bush is like shrubbery, like garden gnomes and bushes and.
No garden gnomes here, no.
But we're talking out. You were going for like a proper like walk through nature.
Yeah, a walk in nature. In woodlands. You'd probably call it woodlands if you're in the UK. And the forest, then I'm taking it from you guys? Forest.
Yeah, or the woods.
In the woods.
The wilderness.
Yeah.
The great outdoors.
The great outdoors, yeah. A fairly urban great outdoors, I have to say, but quite a large one. So, yeah, it was unusual to see him just in the middle of it, mapping it out.
So did he have like camera gear at least?
Yeah, it's a huge backpack with... I'll send you a picture.
Okay, so did it have one of those like big old orbs?
It's like
the 360 orbs?
What's that character that's like all in white and robotic? Does Toyota make like a robot with?
I think Toyota makes cars, man.
Or a Honda? No, the Honda robot.
Honda Walker. Yeah,
it's like the Honda robot's backpack, and then out of the top was some sort of camera array.
Okay, like not like Betamax from that one movie.
I don't know what that is.
What's? No, I can't even remember it. But okay, you'll have to send me a picture. I'm not quite sure I can visualize it.
Yeah.
I'm picturing like they ripped the top off the Apple Maps car and shoved it on a backpack.
Maybe, I don't know.
Okay.
Well, speaking of maps, it sounds like your dad is famous on there, Christian.
Yeah, no, I'm surprised we finally got like they're not quite in the middle of nowhere, but it's off the beaten track enough. It's not quite the bush, as we say, but it's far enough out that I was surprised that Apple Maps made it up there. It looked like my dad was pretty surprised too to see. It's probably not the kind of thing you normally see driving around that town. Like you'd be more likely to see like an old an old classic car, then like I had to look up what they look like, and it looks like one of like what you'd see if you Googled like a Google Street View car from whenever ago, where it's this a normal looking car, but it has like this like big old antenna structure on the top, and it's, to be fair, I'd probably look kind of confused at it too.
Apple has also added a globe view to Maps, which they, I thought, very amusingly described as an entirely unique way to view maps, which is also maybe the oldest way that Google's had to view maps. But I guess it's nice to see them adding features that have been on Google Earth for more than a decade.
Yeah, I remember like experiencing Google Earth for the first time in like grade 5 or whatever. But it I'm sure that they must have done some vectorization of it or something that made it a little different, because I haven't used Google Earth since probably back then. But all I can remember is it was very, very grainy. Like this again for my parents' house, but the closest you could zoom in was like you couldn't make out like the roof color, let alone anything else. So
it still felt like you were in a spy movie. It was crazy when that came.
Yeah, no, it was 50% cool, 50% creepy.
They've also added better road details and more helpful directions, indicating turn lanes, crosswalks, medians, bike lanes, etc. And overlapping roads will be rendered in 3D when you're getting directions. So you can, instead of seeing two roads cross each other, you'll literally see one above the other. And so that'll be really nice in the 3 cities it supports from now in the next 5 years.
It was very much Google I/O deja vu during this part, wasn't it? I mean, it's almost identical to sort of features.
Yeah, a little bit. And do all these features go over to like CarPlay and everything as well? Like, do they get all these cool map views automatically?
Yes, they did say it was coming later this year to CarPlay, so it sounds like a little more difficult to implement, but yeah, it will be coming.
I thought the later this year thing was a little funny because, like, previously, the list of features would be like, oh, this is what's coming before the iOS Goldmaster release, whenever it was going to be September. But in recent years, they give us the list, and it's like, this list could be implemented anytime between Beta 1 and like 15.6 coming in March the following year. So
right.
I had to chuckle a little bit when they said coming later this year, because it doesn't really mean the rest of it's coming any earlier.
Like,
no,
all of
true.
iOS 15 is coming later this year. It's
That's
not
true
out
as
until
well.
September.
And I think they did something similar for iOS 14. I think that's just kind of the release schedule they're doing now, rather than I assume they got bit in the past a little bit with like previous releases where trying to shove too much too early into like a September, October release, and realizing I think everyone would be a little happier if we took our time with this and got it right.
Maybe it's the CarPlay Beta 1 that's coming later this year. Maybe that's what they were meaning with that.
Yeah, I always take that as like December rather than October, but I guess every month you get to work on it as engineers is probably worthwhile.
And then also the new AR directions that we mentioned briefly earlier. Sounds like the phone is going to use the camera itself. You can hold it up and it can recognize the buildings around you to then throw up an augmented reality arrow to point you in the right direction.
Huh. That's another one that I thought we had, but maybe I'm crazy.
I know Google's had it for a while.
Maybe that's what I'm thinking of. But yeah, anything that de-Googles the world a little bit more is kind of nice, so I'll take it.
And they weren't specific, at least from my memory, about where this will be supported. I imagine there's probably some kind of overlap between places that they have their street view done and where this works, because of the fact it's looking for familiar buildings to build these AR directions. I imagine there's some prior mapping that needs to be done for that.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah, and then maybe that uses the fabled LiDAR sensor to better know like the depth of where the buildings are and whatnot.
Ooh, I don't know if it's that long range.
That's true. Yeah, LiDAR is very close range, isn't it?
Yeah, at least the implementation on the small iPhones is.
That's fair.
And then they lumped AirPods into their iOS section, even though a lot of these features are more generic than just iOS. So there's something called Conversation Boost, which seems like it was the ambient pass-through mode that already existed in these AirPods Pro and Max, but now they have the ability to turn down anything that's not a voice. So it can be more used as like maybe not quite a hearing aid, but a hearing supplement.
Interesting. Okay. That could be kind of nice because it doesn't do so. I almost wonder if it's like merging the audio cancellation stuff with the letting voices through, because it would be kind of nice once in a while. Like if I'm doing dishes or something, I don't want to hear like the whirring of the faucet going, but if my girlfriend like asks me a question, it would be nice to not like see her lips moving and nothing coming out. So to be able to like let everything else go away except for voices would be kind of nice, assuming it works like that.
Yeah, it seems like there could definitely be situations. This could also be a great disability feature. I know it's very common for people with autism to be overwhelmed by noises. So if they can tune all those out while still being able to listen to people, I think that could be a huge help for people with those kind of disabilities.
Oh, that's a really good point too.
Even just people who are hard of hearing, just to not have to go with traditional hearing aids, which do have like a certain stigma attached to them, and just look like you're using AirPods. It might mean that more people just go out and get a hearing aid, in quotes.
Yeah, that's a good point. And they're probably like, I imagine a lot of those medical grade devices like hearing aids are quite expensive too. And not to say AirPods are cheap, but I mean, assuming like conventional hearing aid devices are quite expensive, it would be nice if you just have some AirPods kicking around already just to leverage those.
And it's probably a huge grey zone between hard of hearing and needing a hearing aid as well, which the AirPods could slot into.
That's true. I bet a lot of people probably have difficulty making that commitment that they need proper hearing aids, quote unquote, and that just, yeah, something that's less of a, I don't know if admittance is the right word, but might help them a lot more.
Yeah.
They've also added Siri announcements for notifications. In the past, Siri has been able to read your messages aloud as they've come in, and now it seems to be more generic for any type of notification.
As long as it's uses some sort of ML to just read out the ones that actually messages from people. I hope that's a feature, because I don't want to hear like every time, again, someone posts something on Instagram, but there are actually, I've often wondered if it was an API that's messages, which we've had in the past, because the only thing that seems to support it is the Messages app. And, a lot of people obviously use different ones like WhatsApp and Telegram, whatever. Facebook Messenger, that's another one. I've wondered if there is an API and no one's using it. Well, it doesn't matter anymore because we can get pretty much anything read out. The question of can you respond to it still sits though. So, yeah, I'm very interested to see how it all works.
Yeah, I'm always so split on that feature. Like once in a while it's nice, but other times I'm like, I prefer not to be interrupted. And I don't know how you design around humans being whimsical in their preferences, but it's
that's what statuses are for.
Oh, okay, so it's all coming full circle then.
That's what it's for? Statuses?
The the new focus statuses. APIs.
Yeah.
Does that have the ability to turn on this feature on and off?
I don't know for sure. I'm just saying hypothetically those things should overlap.
Okay.
Yeah, you would think if you're like, don't bother me, it would include that. But
here's a tip for you, Christian. You can actually add that as a toggle in the control center, the announce messages feature. Very handy.
You're kidding. I didn't know that. I will do that then.
I have a question for everyone who uses Announce with Siri. I've had it on all the time, and I still don't fully understand how to use it. As at least as far as it pertains to receiving a phone call. Because one of the only times I have my AirPods in is when I'm on a walk and listening to a podcast. And if I happen to get a phone call while I'm doing that, it announces phone call from so-and-so. And then immediately after, Siri says, answer it. And it sounds like she's prompting me to do something, but I can try to say, answer it or whatever else, and it doesn't do anything. I still have to either hit accept on my watch or my phone. And so it ends up sounding like Siri's just telling me, answer this call. Like James is calling.
Like a command.
Yeah, a command.
You piece of crap.
Yeah. Who do you think you are, ghosting this call from James? I don't really get phone calls, but I do get that readout from Siri when I get Microsoft Teams calls. So that actually might answer my previous question if there's an API for all of this. But I can, if a Teams call comes in, Siri announces it, I can just say answer it, and it answers. hands-free.
Maybe I'm just not being clear enough.
Yeah, I'm definitely not the person to ask either. I can't say I've used that very much.
All right. It's a mystery.
No, you got me curious now. At least if you figure it out, let me know. I'm curious why Siri's commanding you things, and we'll listen to whatever you answer back.
Right. Maybe it's just my AirPods are starting to get a little old. Maybe they're not sensitive as they should be anymore.
It could be.
Yeah. AirPods Pro and Max also got a little bit of enhancement in their Find My integrations. They now get the same proximity view that you can see with AirTags, and an added separation alert, which I think is going to be excellent. You can get notified if you've walked away from your AirPods.
Yeah, that's a really good one too that I'm surprised didn't make it in. I guess it's a good feature when it seems obvious in hindsight. But yeah, it would be brutal to walk away from your especially now that the pros are a few $100s, so to leave those, at a restaurant and leave and have someone else grab them would be pretty frustrating when you realize your phone probably figured it out before you did.
I can just imagine standing at the bus stop or the train station, and then you get the separation alert as your train drives away.
Ooh, what a gut punch.
Yeah, but really, add a separation alert for my phone and my watch. That's where I want to see it, because my watch is always attached to my wrist, and I'm walking away from the cafe, and yeah, tell me that my phone's been left behind. That's what I want.
That's a good one too.
And I think AirTags should have this as well. You should be able to configure an AirTag to alert you if you're walking away from it.
Yeah, no, these are all good things. Yeah, if you had it slapped on your wallet, for instance, you wouldn't want to leave that too far away from your person.
And then the final new feature they announced for AirPods is spatial audio is coming to tvOS and macOS now as well.
Oh, okay. So, yeah, when everybody was confused when the new Apple TV came out, it didn't have that. I guess they were just wait a month.
Right.
It'll be here in a sec. Yeah, that's one I haven't used too much just because, whenever I watch content, I know a lot of people watch movies on the iPad and whatever makes you happy, but I kind of personally prefer, a bigger screen for consuming that. So the fact that I haven't really been able to use it, the spatial audio thing, for that use case has been pretty limiting for me. So I'm kind of excited to check it out now that that's on the table.
Do you have an Apple TV, Christian?
Oh, I have a super, it's one of the first, it's whatever the HD one they're selling now is. I was one of the 3 people who probably bought it in 2019 for whatever reason.
2015, and I was also a day one purchase of that TV. It was excellent.
Oof. No, but I mean, I bought this last year for whatever reason. I was I don't want to pony up another $40 for the 4K, and I definitely should have. But yeah, at least you've got your money's worth having it for years and years. But mine's starting to show its age a little bit.
Well, there's a new remote. You got to get the new TV now.
That's true. I solved my biggest. I bought one of the Amazon wrapper control cases thing, and that solved most of my issues of just it getting lost in the couch or not knowing which way is up. So I'm decently happy with it. It's just for me the Apple TV is just so expensive still, and even the remote, knowing I could get a Chromecast that does most of the same stuff I would use the Apple TV for less than the cost of the remote. It's hard for me to stomach, even though I really do like my Apple TV.
The knowledge that you're sitting here looking at what I presume is a Pro Display XDR complaining about the cost of the Apple TV is an irony that's not lost on me.
See, yeah, but the thing is, the Apollo subreddit mostly bought that monitor for me. If they want to buy me an Apple TV, I'll use it happily. But outside of little stuff like the Pro Display XDR, I still find it hard. I'm very frugal by nature, I guess, and it's that's an expensive remote still in and of itself, even with how much I'd use it. So I feel most of my issues with the old remote, it's still sensitive with the touchpad and whatnot, but being able to tell which way is up and it not getting lost all the time in the couch is fixing those is paramount to me. So I fixed those with a $5 piece of plastic. So I'm mostly happy. It's just, I see, as soon as I turned it on and I saw they call it the flyover wallpapers, and I saw those were in 1080p and I could have ponied up for 4K. I was I messed up, because those are really pretty, and I know seeing them in 4 times the resolution would be crazy.
Yeah, they're very nice.
But yeah, so do you know, do the old ass Apple TVs get the spatial audio stuff?
That is a good question. They did not specify that in the keynote, as far as I'm aware.
No, I think they did. I think they said only the 4K version is.
Oh, did they?
Okay.
I'm pretty sure.
So that's like the quote unquote old 4K and the one that just came out.
Yeah, I didn't see any others. Any other display.
So that's another reason I should have ponied up, I guess. Well, lesson learned.
Just make a post on the Apollo subreddit and you'll have the money in 2 seconds.
Yeah, there you go. See, I'm also one of the weirdos that uses like I've got like an LG TV, and I find the it has like WebOS and the built-in apps are like I mostly use those, and I found them to be like phenomenal. Especially the YouTube app. Like every single platform I use the YouTube app on, it drives me crazy where you don't have any playback speed controls. And from what I can tell, the only app on any platform that does it is like the built-in LG one. It doesn't do it on my Apple TV. It doesn't do it on my NVIDIA Shield, my Chromecast, nothing. But if I want to watch like a 20-minute video where the person talks really slowly, I can speed it up on the LG YouTube app, and it works perfectly.
Amazing.
Yeah. And it's got like the Apple TV Plus app. It's got pretty much every app I could want. So I just ultimately don't end up using any of like third-party boxes all too often. So it's hard for me to justify that in a way.
You've got a lot more trust in your TV than I do. I guess my TV's a Samsung, and I don't trust Samsung enough to even let them have access to my Wi-Fi.
That's fair.
I am 100% dependent on my Apple TV for smart features.
That's a good point. I guess I'm one of those people who have like the free Google Homes in most rooms too. So I feel like my my privacy has I should probably take a better look at it, because you're right. I can't even imagine like all the money LG's getting off of selling whatever I'm watching right now. But it's I gotta get that playback speed though, man. I don't know. I'll pay whatever price. I'll pay all my privacy. I can't watch people talk slow for 20 minutes.
That should be your next third-party client. Make a new YouTube app.
If honestly, like the YouTube, I feel like I'm following in the footsteps of the Alien Blue guy so closely at this point, because he made Alien Blue and then he made a YouTube app, and it's just the YouTube API is just not great. Like they don't want you to have access to like the pure video behind the scenes. So doing anything like that is a royal pain in the ass. They do not seem like they're very which I guess makes sense, because they tightly control their ads and everything, and coordinating that with a third party is probably a nightmare on their end. But I'd honestly love to make a YouTube app. It just does not seem to be in the cards.
What app did the Alien Blue guy create for YouTube?
It was called, I think he named it after his daughter. It started with a J. I want to say like
Jasmine.
Jennifer,
wasn't it?
That was it. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, that was it.
Blast from the past.
Yeah, and I remember he did something really cool where it loaded the YouTube videos really quickly, and I remember he ended up having to roll that back because whatever he did, YouTube didn't like that they were loading that fast in whatever way he was doing it. So that was kind of the point where I was like, oh, okay, so things loading quickly are bad, I guess. But yeah, I don't think there's much of a market for YouTube apps anymore, unfortunately.
I just miss the good old day of the YouTube app being built into iOS.
Oh, I know. I have my I have like an old iPod Touch the other day that I booted up, and it's on iOS 2, I think, or I guess it was iPhone OS 2. And I opened that app, and unfortunately nothing even loads anymore. Its days are behind.
For the longest time, just that like the one video that's like, this app doesn't work anymore. Does that not even show up anymore?
No, I think it just failed because I think YouTube moved to HTTPS only, and I'm assuming that app's old enough that it doesn't use any of that anymore, so it just fails on even like the most basic connection, I think. And even I don't even think I could load the YouTube website itself because it was the same thing. Like there's just no HTTPS that it looks for. Everything's so ephemeral.
That's such a nostalgic app for me. 2007, pulling up the YouTube app, watching Evolution of Dance. Like that was like one of my first memories from my first iPod Touch.
Yeah, I don't know what it was, but yeah, I'm completely the same way. Being able to like pull up access to all these videos, like it was one thing to do it on your computer, but in just this thin device in your hand and be able to watch them in line was like, yeah, it was a real showstopper.
Speaking of distant, fond memories, the text selection loop is coming back to iOS 15. The little magnifying glass that you get when you hold your finger down over some text.
Yeah, that's so iconic that I was so surprised they got rid of it last year. I guess somebody must have realized the error of the ways, or there was enough complaints, but yeah, that's nice to have back.
Yeah, not only iconic, but way more convenient and intuitive than trying to blindly move a cursor.
Yeah, it's been, the last year's been rough for doing that kind of stuff. I've just never found text selection on touch devices, like really any of them, to be like my favorite task in the world. But yeah, that loop made it just a little bit nicer.
I'm just playing with it for the first time. It's very nice, and it's bigger than the old one. It's kind of like a lozenge shape instead of just a circle, so you can see more in front of and behind the cursor as you're moving it.
Ooh, now I want to try it. Does it like just like blow up the text behind it? Like I remember on one old version, it was kind of like, it drove me crazy that like you'd have this retina sharp screen and then it would be like blowing up the text behind it, and kind of like a it wasn't like re-rendering the text inside the loop. It was just kind of like zooming in on it.
Yeah, it was the zoom without the enhance.
Yeah. But
it seems equally sharp, so it is enhancing it.
Good.
Oh, that's awesome.
The CSI people will be happy.
All right. I think that wraps up the iOS section of WWDC.
Yeah, I was going to say, we could pretty much skip like the first half of iPadOS because it's just like catching it up to iOS, really, with all the app library and widgets and all that. And we're already going pretty long. What do you reckon?
Yeah. We'll just say it's got widgets. It's got the app library now.
Welcome aboard.
Multitasking is much better. Instead of it all being hidden behind gestures and swipes, you kind of just have to guess. Now there is a multitasking button in the top center of your app. You can tap and it prompts you with which version of multitasking I can move it into, whether it's slide over or a split view. And then putting it in split view then prompts you with your home screen, and you can then choose the secondary app you want to be in that split view.
Yeah, they finally solved that solution of how do you choose the second app, or let's just show you the home screen. Wow, who would have thought of that? But this is like the 10th stab at multitasking since iOS 9 or whenever it began. Looks like the best one yet.
I agree.
Yeah, just the one thing that confuses me with, and maybe I'm missing something, is with even the current one, if I've got an app open and I'm like, I want it to go to the left side. Like I see you can tap that button and you can shoot it to the right side and then let you choose the app for the left side. But if you want to do the opposite, like I'm slightly confused. Like I don't know why they don't just have another button that's like, it looks like for me the buttons are like full screen, one side or like one side hovering. Mm-hmm. But you can't choose which side you want it to go to, which drives me a little crazy, but it's definitely better.
Yeah, I agree that would be nice, and they're probably just trying to minimize the number of buttons they prompt you with by having 2 buttons for every type of multitasking, just for the difference in sides. But
that's true. I guess with my issue with the multitasking has always been like, I feel like I want to do this very obvious thing, and there's no clear way to do that, and I just like my first instinct when I was using it was like, oh, I want this app over there, and I'm like, how the heck do I do that? And I guess you can just, now that I see it, you can just grab them and kind of shuffle them around after the fact, which isn't bad, but I want one more button, just one more button.
Another thing that I'd always intuitively tried to do is when in the app switcher view and you're presented with all these apps, I always thought you should be able to just drag one app on top of the other to create a split view. And now that's finally possible.
Right, it seems so obvious, yeah.
Very much. That and the whole how you have like the app library thing in your dock there. Because yeah, it was a nightmare to be like, I want to drag this app here and it's not in my dock, and you had to kind of do like the multi-finger casting a spell gesture in order to make that happen.
Yeah, you had to remember the right incantation as well at the same time.
Yeah, it was not the easiest.
Notes also got an update in iPadOS with the ability to add mentions in Notes, which I think this is just a general iOS thing, but they needed something to talk about under iPad. So they did it here. You can put mentions and tags in Notes, and also a new activity view, so you can see exactly what changes were done, which I just used to reference our show notes earlier, James, and I could see you typing stuff in there.
Nice.
So that looks good. An iPad-specific enhancement to Notes is something called Quick Note, which is a swipe in from a lower right corner with an Apple Pencil. Prompts you with a small notepad that you can either quickly jot something down, and it's context aware. So if you're in a specific app, you can pull like the URL from Safari, and then the next time you're in Safari, you can be prompted with that same note to continue adding to it.
Huh. Yeah, I really like that. My first thought when I saw that was I wish other apps could use that kind of not full vertical height split screen UI, because it would be kind of cool just to have like, I don't know, like a calculator hovering there that's not necessarily taking like the full height of the screen. But maybe that's iOS 16. But it looks pretty cool just to be able to jot a note down from anywhere.
The functionality is nice. I don't like the invocation. We just got finished talking
Yeah,
about...
is it only the right side?
Yes, because the left side is still a screenshot. So we were just talking about how they're improving these kind of unintuitive, obscure, you just got to know them gestures for multitasking. And now they're adding more for other stuff, where swiping in from different corners with the Apple Pencil does different things. I think they're making a new mess entirely.
Yeah, that's tricky. Yeah, I don't know about that. Yeah, especially if you're like a left-handed user, like you hand it to your friend to use your iPad and they try a similar thing that you think would be mirrored.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know.
I just avoid having left-handed friends. It sort of solves a lot of problems.
That's fair. Sometimes you find out too late, and you're way too committed to the friendship at that point.
Yeah, it really hurts when you have to let them go at that point, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, especially with this pandemic stuff, right? Like you could go a year or two without actually seeing them, right? And then you're kind of committed at that point.
It's part of my vetting, like my onboarding questions for friendships.
That's fair. Maybe I should try that.
Yeah, I'll send you my template.
The Translate app is coming to iPad OS with the existing translate features with a couple iPad enhancements, such as the ability to practice your handwriting in foreign languages, as well as, I believe this is a more generic across platforms enhancement, but auto translate, so you can have a conversation with someone and it will detect what language you're talking in and translate it back and forth between the two of you automatically.
That's pretty cool. I've always loved that kind of Star Trek stuff.
Yeah.
I will say it kills me that it looks like it's another year with this amazing Translate app and there's no developer API for it. So like those of us who like, or am I wrong?
I don't believe there's an API, but they did add OS level translation, which I don't think is going to be helpful for your use cases. But now you can select text anywhere and there's always a translate option in the menu.
Okay. That's better. That's still something, but that just to me means that like they have that API that's just private somewhere.
Right.
Because it just kills me having to like rely on like Google or some third party to do something that like one, it's annoying because you have to bounce them out to the website to do it, because doing like it via like the Google API is like something ridiculous, like $20 for every million characters. So you can imagine if you could hit that very quickly across like a crap ton of users translating a lot of text. So then rather than doing the API directly, you have to throw them to the website, and it would just be so much nicer if you could do it like locally without an internet connection, presumably, on the device, just by tapping it. And you could like translate the text like right then and there in the comment on Reddit or something. So it just kills me that it seems like another year where they don't have an API for it.
Well, WWDC is only kicking off. It might be too soon to say whether or not they open up an API.
That's true. I just feel like they would have. Yeah, maybe. I'm hoping. I think they would have led with that. But yeah, I'm hoping.
All right. And now, the most curveballiest things they did. The ability to build entire applications and publish to the App Store from Swift Playgrounds.
Yeah, that was pretty crazy. I'm impressed by that. Like, I think you have to still be all in on Swift UI in order to leverage that. So there's obviously some limitations. But like, I know a lot of people who are doing like crazy good apps all in Swift UI, and who love doing everything on their iPad that they can. So I think I'll be like really excited to download like, I don't know what you'll call it. Like, it would be cool if there was a special badge for this was developed only on an iPad, only with Swift UI, and check out that app. Like, I'd be pretty interested to see that, because I think it would be a pretty cool accomplishment.
Yeah, definitely. This is a step in the right direction. It's just a little bit of a letdown. I was hoping for full-fledged Xcode, but maybe that was too big of an ask.
But like, this is, maybe this is just them testing the waters. Like, if they see a lot of apps submitted this way, maybe they'll add it next year. I just can't help but that, like, for full-fat Xcode for iPad, like, you need some sort of, or at least me personally, I'd love like an external display support kind of thing, because like looking at like I think I've got like the 10.9-inch iPad. Like, I'm doing a lot of dev work on the 13-inch MacBook right now, just because you can't get any bigger size M1 machines. And like, even at 13 inches, I'm like, oh, this is cutting it close for Xcode for me. Like, I'd prefer like 15 inches, if not bigger than that. So to go down and like do it on like an 11-inch display, like, I personally wouldn't be a big fan of Xcode for that. But so I'd love, like, I guess you could just get like one of the bigger iPads, but I think external display support for like something Xcode would be pretty awesome.
Which is another thing they did not mention at all for iPad OS.
Yeah, it seems like a real strange one.
I need to take my iPad and plug it into my monitor and see if maybe they did tweak something and just did it silently, because iPad is in desperate need of enhancement when it comes to external displays.
If it's all within reach, please go ahead.
It's a head scratcher, because like I think you can do something like with AirPlay. I remember where like I don't know, because it'll like relay out the app on the special screen, because I remember I accidentally did something like that with Apollo once, where I was AirPlaying it and it made it into like the same size as my TV screen rather than just mirroring like the 4:3 iPad UI. But it I just really wish you had something where you could like drag the cursor off the screen, and because it seems like they've got most of the nuts and bolts there, they just need to kind of connect everything up. Maybe they just don't think enough people will use it, or I'm not sure what it is, but I think it would be pretty cool.
Yeah, and I would test it out right now, but my only monitor with USB-C in I'm currently using, and if I unplug it, I unplug my microphone and everything else, so I can't do that right now.
All right, let us
A
know
little
after.
dangerous.
Okay,
Just
I'll
on the
let
off
you know.
chance. Like, what are the odds, though? Fairly low.
I really hope they did, but yeah, I'm not optimistic.
No, I feel like people would have sniffed that out pretty quickly.
There was a big privacy update. This seems also OS wide, but they mentioned it in the iPad section. Mail privacy protection will hide your IP address when you open emails and prevent read receipts, which is intended to stop spam. I'm sure there's gonna be a lot of spammers upset about that, but also a lot of like corporate people who probably rely on read receipts that are not gonna be happy those are no longer working.
Yeah, I love these kind of features where it's just like it's one thing to like allow a user to opt into this for sure, but just like the entitlement around being like, I am owed this. And I kind of just love it when Apple walks in and be like, you're really not. So we're going to take that and let the user opt back into it. So I love that, especially like the email, like the tracking pixel stuff in emails was like so gross when I first heard about it. Like it just seems like something that you're like, this seems like a bug in email. Like it's email is email. Like it's supposed to replicate mail. Like nobody knows when you open up the envelope that your grandmother sent you. So it just kind of stands to reason that email should act the same way, and that people found some kind of like turnkey way around it. Just always felt really gross. And if anything, I'm kind of surprised it took Apple so long to address this, like, which I guess goes to show that it's probably not a simple issue to solve, but it's, I think it's pretty awesome. I might have to go back to the normal mail app.
Oh, do you not use normal mail?
No, I think I use something different on every platform. Like on the Mac one, I use, I don't even know how I found it. It's called like MimeStream. It's in beta right now, but it's this kind of cool, like Gmail only, like really native Mac app that's really nice. And then on iOS I use Spark, I think. It's just because it might be different now, but I remember for like Gmail the system mail app I don't think it would give you push notifications or something like that, or they were very delayed or something drove me crazy.
Yeah, there was something weird about push and the Mac mail app or the iPhone mail app, wasn't there? Yeah.
I didn't like being a few minutes late on every email, which I'm sure is Google's doing. Or them fighting over something stupid, but either way, it was kind of annoying for me.
Yeah, there's always that one company that digs their heels in the sand and says, we're not going to support whatever new features Apple has. Just like Netflix won't support SharePlay, and they're not in the TV app and everything else.
Oh, they're not going to support SharePlay at all?
Well, they weren't announced to alongside Hulu and Disney Plus, everyone else.
That's true. I assume they'd be.
Netflix has been adamant about not implementing Apple's streaming features, so I imagine they won't.
Yeah, no, you're right.
Along with the other privacy enhancements, Safari now hides your IP address, which I was under the impression they already did this, but I guess this is new, or at least they made it sound new in the keynote.
Is that the one is that
iCloud? Though,
yeah,
right?
the iCloud thing? The
no,
iCloud Plus? Or no?
That is the private relay, which I believe is a separate thing.
Huh.
Interesting. So, like, I'm not sure how they'd, like, knowing nothing about networking, to me, it was like, in order to hide your IP address, you need some sort of proxy or VPN. So, in my head, I was kind of like, I guess that makes sense why they weren't doing it, because routing every iOS connection through a VPN would be quite expensive to just do on a whim. But But I guess maybe they figured out a way to do it more efficiently.
For a developers conference, Apple really likes to avoid industry terms, which is annoying because we'll get to it in a little bit. But like their CI/CD solution they announced, they never once called it that. Instead, they made up their own words for it.
But with networking, like, it also wouldn't surprise me if like that gets so complicated that it wouldn't surprise me if it's like a distant cousin of VPNs, but isn't quite a VPN due to, implementation detail 99. So calling it a VPN might be the wrong term or something, and they're doing some crazy new thing. But yeah, I totally hear you. Like, is it a VPN by all intents and purposes?
Right. I think Private Relay functions similar to a VPN, but it is not. I think private relays are a separate technology from VPN, even though they achieve kind of similar results.
Right.
There's also a new privacy report in your settings, which allows you to look at applications and see how often they access things like your contacts and photos or your location, and also which domains they are frequently contacting and sending this information to.
I think this is going to be a juicy one for
This is great.
Yeah, I feel like come October or whenever iOS 15 comes out, there's going to be a reckoning of sorts if developers don't smarten up over the summer.
Yeah, if Facebook scans your photo library twice a day and sends it back to their domain or something.
Oh yeah, or even like I think a big issue was like just a lot of like remember like a year or two ago how like these little weather apps were like operating a little side business where they'd sell all your location data like 100 times a day. And you just had no idea. So this kind of shining a light on the cockroaches roaming around is pretty cool.
Yeah, I agree. This is going to be very, very telling.
Yeah, because before it was kind of interesting that it was like, you could grant access to your photos or whatever, and it was kind of just like it made sense in that one context you were using it, but giving it forever and not knowing what every subsequent one was kind of creepy. So it's pretty nice that like all this information's there if you want it.
Yeah, I'm actually looking. I'm typing privacy report in the settings now to see if it's available yet. I don't see it, so maybe it's not in the first beta, but I'm anxious to see what kind of information that holds.
Yeah.
Along with their other privacy announcements, Siri now does your voice processing on device, which allows for faster response to requests and the ability to do a lot of requests locally with no internet connection. Such as play, pause music, change settings on the phone.
This was like a top 3 for me, I think, in the whole of WWDC. Because, Siri's just something that is so frustrating to use and yet so useful. So just combining those two things actually, it's like a multiplier on my frustration levels. Especially on the watch, although I'm not sure how local the watch is going to keep these Siri requests, because currently it's specified that it requires the A12 at least to keep what it's going to keep on device. So that's the iPhone XS or newer. And even the original HomePod, because that only runs an A8, probably won't get this, but the HomePod Mini will. So yeah, some limitations on what's going to be able to do everything on device, but any speed boost we can get with Siri is just going to make life so much nicer.
Amen to that. Yeah, it's like it's one thing like for me if Siri's not going to be able to answer the request, but just let me know quickly so I don't get my hopes up. When you ask something and you can hear her spinning for 10 seconds only to be like, sorry. That's always a little frustrating, but if it could just be like, sorry, immediately, yeah, that would be quite a bit better.
All right, next on the list are a few iCloud enhancements. First of all, account recovery and digital legacy. 2 separate contact lists you can make. Account recovery will allow you to specify contacts that seem to be able to give you like a 2-factor authentication code, so you can get back into your account in the event you forget your password. But they cannot access information on your account. Whereas digital legacy is supposed to be like a legacy feature where if you die, these people who have your digital legacy contact list can request access to your information so that all the photos on your phone or whatever aren't lost forever.
Huh. That makes a lot of sense. I've had like a friend or two who had someone who passed away close to them, and it's not been the easiest thing to get onto the device. So yeah, having something built in.
it's nice to have a more formal process for this, because I believe there was, something possible before, but, it was always a bit up in the air, like, oh, what do we do now? Whereas now it's just like, here's step 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah, because it's unfortunately probably going to happen at some point. So, best to have a process.
Yeah.
And then iCloud Plus was announced, which seems to be a rebranding of the paid storage tiers that iCloud already had, but they're also adding a couple extra features, such as this private relay, not quite VPN, as well as the ability to create temporary random emails, which seems like an enhancement of the already existing ability to create accounts with your sign-in with Apple with random email addresses. This seems to be able to be a more generalized version of that, where if you're sending an email or sign up for a service, you can use this. I wasn't 100% clear on the use cases, though. Did you guys pick up on how and when you should use a temporary random email?
No, it wasn't really spelled out during the keynote, so, I don't know.
Yeah, I wonder if it's more like, can you have multiple sign in with Apples on one account? Like, I'm almost thinking like, if you wanted to get around like the Netflix trials, you just keep generating these random email addresses. Whereas I assume with sign in with Apple, it would just keep trying to sign you into the same account you created the first time. So all I can think of is like the Netflixes and the free trial via email. Solutions all over the world are probably going to hate this feature, because I imagine it's probably pretty hard to block these since they're just like at iCloud.com or whatever.
I am curious to see how easy they are to use, because my job creating web services, I have to use temporary emails all the time to test sign-in and various account permissions, and I've relied on third-party services such as Gorilla Mail to facilitate short-term email addresses. But if Apple implements it natively, I might switch to them.
Yeah, I think all it does is forward it, doesn't it? So, I mean, it sounds pretty simple under the hood.
Yeah. So I'm anxious to see how that actually ends up working out.
Yeah, no, I bet it seems like something that you'd benefit from.
While I was reading up on this feature, I noticed that you can actually now add custom domain names to your iCloud account as well. So it doesn't have to be at Mead or at iCloud.com or even at, what was the first one? Mac.com. You can add
right.
.mac, yeah. It looks like you can just add any domain that you own to your iCloud account somehow.
Also, original iTools.
iTools, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow, we're going back.
Plowing right on. They had a big segment on health features. The first one being a walking steadiness monitor, which monitors you for fall risk and provides you with exercises to increase your steadiness.
Yeah, no, that seemed really cool. Like, it just blows my mind that you can get that kind of like telemetry out of just this square sitting in your pocket, and like how it was showing how somebody whose both feet were touching the ground for an average of 300 milliseconds. Like, my gosh, like that team must be so cool to work on, just in terms of like what crazy, pertinent, powerful information you can extract just from this thing that people have automatically. Like, what a cool concept.
And they've implemented a trends feature, which takes things like walking steadiness, but also existing metrics like blood glucose, heart rate, and allows you to view that more as a long-term trend and how that changes over time. And the ability to share this information with select contacts, which at their initial pitch sounded useful and interesting to me, but then they got to the point where it's like, you can get a notification if your grandma's heart rate goes up a little bit, and then you can call her and ask what's wrong. And that seems very creepy and will be annoying very quickly to anyone who's sharing health information.
I would hope that they would have, that's where their machine learning would come in, and they'd not be notifying, every time your grandmother heart rate went up a little bit during a freaky movie or something, because, yeah, that would be unfortunate for everybody involved.
It also sounds like they're going to have some very nice electronic health record integrations with some of the big EHRs like Cerner, so that you can take these trends and health information from the health app and automatically share them with your primary care provider, so they can get a better idea of your general health trends outside of the office.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That connection seems like something that would be pretty powerful too. I really, those kind of features always are like, oof. I hope it seems like you'd have to be kind of like a doctor who's more into technology than maybe one of an older school doctor, but that kind of stuff seems pretty fascinating.
I worry about the quality of the data. I know that things like my sleep tracking aren't always completely accurate, because maybe I woke up at 1 a.m. and I checked my phone for notifications, and then my sleep tracking registers that I got up at 1 o'clock and I only got 3 hours of sleep that night or something. And it just takes a couple bad pieces of data like that for doctors to just ignore it, right? If you have this integration with Apple Health and it's got these skewed trends because of data like that, it doesn't become very helpful.
That's true. I would hope any doctor worth their salt, though, would use it as a supplemental tool rather than committing you over any information you get in there.
Yeah. And then this wasn't announced, they didn't say it out loud, but it was on one of the cards floating by. They're adding a vaccine card to the Apple Health app, which will be very nice to have.
Oh, yeah, and I'm sure nobody will have strong opinions about that in the U.S.
Oh, man. I'm excited about it. I've got a picture of my physical vaccine card, so it'll be nice to have it integrated into the Health app.
No, I'm exactly the same way. Like, anything that prevents me having to carry around anything physical is the best thing in the world for me.
And I definitely put this in the wrong section. This was supposed to be under iOS, but somehow is under the iPadOS heading. But iOS 15 and iPadOS 15 as an extension will be compatible with every device that ran iOS 14, which includes the first generation iPhone SE.
Oh my god, what a phone that SE is. It lives on. Just keeps on going.
Yeah, that's incredible. Like, I don't know how those teams do it. It's just so nice, not to have to worry about like, oh, every single person with an iPhone 6S won't be able to use my app updates anymore if I drop this version of iOS, and just it makes adopting those cool new APIs like so much easier and more carefree. So just the fact that I can do it is mind-blowing enough, but just that you get so many benefits out of it too is really awesome.
Do you have statistics on that, of how many users are still on iPhone 6S?
Yeah, I don't know if I do anymore. Back I had like a third-party analytics solution that I wasn't really using too much of, that I had in the app, and then when they started doing like the privacy nutrition labels, I was just like, I don't know how that's going to complicate that, and I barely leverage these at all, so I might as well just yank it. So I don't think Apple gives you device level analytics. I might be wrong, but again, it just goes to show how much I care about that stuff. But before I could, and it was like to the extent that I know, like with stuff like iPads, especially, like if I was building like an iPad update, people hold on to like old iPads for like a long time just because they maybe use them here and there and don't push them as hard as they do their iPhones. So having an older one doesn't hurt as bad. So potentially there's a lot of like a specific old device kicking around, and dropping that might hurt a lot. And just the fact that you can keep those around a lot longer is nice. iPhones I'm not as worried about, because there's not too many people using like a 6X or a 6S as a daily device that are gonna hurt too much if an update comes out. And to be honest, most of the time, if there are, they're like, yeah, that's kind of fair. This is an old phone. But just not having to worry about that at all is even better.
So, and I guess as long as the iPod Touch lives, having to build a UI for the iPhone SE isn't that bad, because getting rid of it's not going to solve that problem.
Oh yeah, and I mean it's in places other than the iPod Touch too, just because like the smallest split screen UI on the iPad is the same width. Trying to think what else. I think one of like the if you go in the zoomed mode on the iPhone 12 mini, it's the same size or something. Like there's all sorts of ways you can still find that UI tiny UI constraint stuck in there. I wish it would go away, but it seems like it's clawing on for dear life.
Yeah. All right, on to watchOS 8. First of all, some more health features. A new mindfulness app that prompts you with reflections, and this was very funny to me. They give you a sentence like, spend 60 seconds thinking about something that makes you happy, and then they show you a nice animation. So,
insofar as you're probably focused on the animation more than the thing, you mean?
Yeah, sure. It seems like a very simple app that, in my mind, because going into this, there were rumors that Apple was working on a mental health application. I was expecting it to be a little more fleshed out than that. Maybe some kind of mood tracking thing that maybe integrates with a heart rate. It's like, oh, you might be having anxiety or a panic attack. Do you want to journal what's going on? And but none of that. Just like think about something that makes you happy.
They also gave this to the like the work experience kid, and they're like, what can you come up with in 6 months? And this is it.
That's true. I wonder to a certain extent, though, at the same time, like maybe that's the beauty in it, that just it is simple, and that just taking a minute to think about something that makes you happy, or just to breathe. Maybe that is simple, and that it does have a profound effect for not much commitment. And so, you know what I mean? Like maybe it is simple, but maybe that's the whole point of it. Even maybe you can have that and hopefully have like those mental health things down the line too.
Yeah, it's definitely an extension of the existing Breathe app, which is, instead of just kind of focus on your breathing, now it's prompting you to maybe focus something even more positive. And so I'd consider this an enhancement. I guess I'm not sold on this needing to be its own app when this could have just been an addition to the Breathe app.
And that Breathe app, like, it drives me crazy, but at the same time, like, whenever, like, the few times I have, like, sat down and been like, okay, fine, I'm not doing anything, I'll breathe for 60 seconds, I'm like, dang, I do feel better. So, like, I wish there was, I feel like I need to listen to it a little bit more, because I feel like there probably is something there.
Maybe we need to all be less cynical old men and actually start paying attention to it. How about that?
Yeah, no, it's just, I'm just like, oh, I have to stop doing what I'm doing for 60 whole seconds. Like, no, that's not a healthy way to look at things.
They also added a couple more workouts. There's Tai Chi and Pilates, and they were really excited about a new fitness trainer, and I don't remember her name, but it sounded like she was very popular, so it sounds like good news for Apple Fitness.
Yeah, no, I was the same way. I was like, that sounds like a person. But yeah, I guess if it gets people exercising, all the power to her.
Yeah. James, I think, is one of the biggest Apple Fitness Plus users I know. I get notifications every morning that you're doing yoga.
Oh, no way.
Not in the last 2 months, though.
You have calmed down a bit recently.
No, I actually couldn't for a while because I had that broken bone in my hand. I couldn't do my downward dogs. So, but I am slowly getting back into it now. But yeah,
how'd you break your hand?
I was just like closing a latch on something, and my hand moved like really suddenly in an awkward sort of movement, and broke a bone in the hand. So it was in a cast, and
oh my gosh,
I know.
Oh, that's the worst. Really,
I feel like I'm made out of styrofoam all of a sudden.
But you're on the up and up now?
Yeah, there's probably, I don't know, what was it, like 6-8 weeks ago? So
okay.
I'm slowly getting back into the downward dogs, slowly putting pressure back on that hand again.
Happy to hear it.
There's three-legged dogs, James. You could have done it.
Yeah,
that's true. It would have been tighter, though.
The Photos app got a bit of an update on the Apple Watch. In the past, it's just a place where it displays your favorites. Now you can see memories on there. And also a new Portraits watch face, which takes advantage of the depth data in your portrait photos to put the person in front of the time and then the time in front of the background. So you kind of got a 3D layered effect on your watch face.
I mean, I guess that's kind of cool if you have like a lot of people you see on the regular. Like over the last year, it doesn't seem like I've got outside as much as I normally do. So I feel like it would be like the same rotation between my cat and my girlfriend. So I'm not sure it'd be super exciting, but it would maybe for more lively people.
Yeah. And then I think this is my highlight from watchOS. Messages got some enhancements. First of all, in the past, when you're responding to a message, you can choose to either dictate it or scribble it. Now you can kind of do a hybrid where you can dictate and then scribble, and then you can add emojis into the message instead of just responding with a single emoji. And you can move the cursor along in the message you're writing by scrolling Digital Crown. And you can even search and send GIFs right from the Messages app.
And they even pronounce GIF properly.
I'm glad we're all on the same page there.
Yeah, I almost wanted to tweet something about that, and then I was like, oh no, that's probably gonna, incense the wrong person because people get touchy about that. But yeah, no, that woman was doing some like incredible stuff on her watch there. I was very impressed by her dexterity.
Yeah, she sure was. It looks great. Yeah, I can't wait to try it.
There's a new contacts app coming to the watch, and the ability to set multiple timers on the Apple Watch, which will also be very nice.
Right, that's been a long-standing one.
Yeah. And all of this is coming to Series 3 and up. So,
hooray.
James, you get another year with your watch.
My/your watch is still counted. Still getting updates. David gave me his old watch, Christian.
Oh, what a good friend.
He is, yeah.
It's not my watch anymore because he broke it and then took it into the Apple Store, and they gave him a brand new one. So it's
No
100%
way.
his.
It's that smooth talking accent.
We all have this accent here.
I bet it's still not lost on you. That's incredible, though. I'm impressed. I still have like a Series 1 that doesn't get any updates, so
Yeah.
I think I have to update eventually.
Wait, you still wear a Series 1?
Yeah, like I don't wear it as much as I should, and I mostly only use it for like fitness tracking. So like the fact I can just detect when my heart rate's high enough to count a minute mostly works for me. But yeah, whenever I see somebody like at the mall with one of the fancy always on screens, I'm like, yeah, I need to get on that train eventually.
Yeah, well, you might as well wait a couple months now and get the new one.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that and the whole how that recent update got you can turn on your iPhone with your watch, or you can get past the passcode or whatever, with all the mask stuff. Like, yeah, I'd kind of like that too. So, of course, probably by the time that the new watches come out, like masks will be hopefully a little less required, but it'll still be nice to have.
I found it useful in so many more situations than just wearing a mask as well. Whether you're laying in bed and your face is partially obscured, or doing any activity where maybe your face isn't fully in view, the fact that your phone still unlocks for you has been really nice.
That's true. Okay, no, that's a good point. Okay, now I really have something to look forward to.
All right, next up, HomeKit. They touched again on the fact you can use your iPhone to unlock doors using the Home Keys feature. Another new thing is the ability to ask Siri to play something on the Apple TV from a different device.
They specifically said the HomePod Mini in that instance.
Yeah, that HomePod ain't long for the world, I don't think.
Yeah, I don't know why it would be limited to that device, if it is indeed limited.
Well, I think it's got like, it must be the whole A8 on the HomePod probably has some silicon limitation that the new one doesn't. I'm guessing. Because, I mean, the A8 is like, we're talking like, that's the iPhone SE or whatever, isn't it? So we're pretty far back at that point.
Maybe it's something to do with ultra wideband, because that doesn't the Mini have that? The Maxi doesn't.
Oh, that could. I think so.
Yeah, it doesn't. I don't know. I feel like they were saying in this hypothetical situation, you can walk in your house and ask your HomePod Mini to do this. Not saying that's the only device that's capable of doing it.
Okay. Maybe I misinterpreted
seems
that
like
entirely.
If it's a technology thing, it feels like your phone should be able to do that too, because the phone is new enough. But who knows?
Yeah.
It could be some artificial limitations. The HomePod and the Apple TV both run tvOS, so maybe there's an operating system requirement there.
I'm just super paranoid about the original HomePod not getting features at the moment.
Oh, you still have one? Or you have one?
I have one, and David has like 15 of them.
Oh my.
I have 4.
Holy Hannah. So do you have
know,
like the
right?
whole Atmos setup going on, or do you just have like one in every room, or?
I've got a pair of HomePods that are the primary speakers for my Apple TV in my living room. And then I've got one HomePod in my bedroom and one HomePod in my office.
Yeah, that would do it. I'm impressed. No, I damn. That's a lot of HomePods.
They're really, really nice.
Yeah, that's fair. I can see it. It goes back to me being frugal, I guess. I keep getting these like Google Home Minis in the mail for free. It seems like, I don't know if they just have too many of them or what, but like every service you have, they're like, well, you're a good subscriber. Here's a Google Home Mini. So paying like a few $100 Canadian for, something that objectively probably sounds 100 times better. I'm just like, well, I only use it to play like, a podcast here and there. But yeah, no, I'll feel bad once your HomePod stops getting all those updates.
Yeah, it's quite an investment for it to die off that quickly. So hopefully it lasts a bit.
Fingers
Speaking
crossed.
HomePod Mini, it's got the ability now to be used as the audio output for the Apple TV, the same way the HomePods have been able to be used that way. I don't know why you'd want to do that. I can't imagine even a pair of HomePod Mini sounds much better, if at all, than just the built-in speakers in your television. But
Yeah, I'm so curious.
it's an option now.
And they even gave like, what was the video on screen? It was like a space shuttle or something, and there was like this massive bass sound coming out of the video. Like, I don't know if you're going to get that with 2 HomePod Minis.
Yeah, definitely not.
Yeah, like I could see it being better than like, you know, like the most craptacular one at Walmart TV you can pick up. But at that point, like, why are you buying, you know, $300 worth of, or $200 worth of speakers from Apple for your like $200 TV? Like at that point, you just spend the $400 on the TV and you'll probably get better speakers anyway.
Exactly.
Yeah, so no, I agree. That's a curious one. But hey, I guess why not? If the normal HomePod could do it, I guess it was kind of a head scratcher why you couldn't do it with the other ones.
Right. Yep. HomeKit accessories now have the ability to implement Siri, kind of. It requires you to have a HomePod on your network, and then things like your smart thermostat can then act as a relay where you can talk to Siri through them, but it still all goes through the HomePod first, which is nice for me. I've got a HomeKit, an Ecobee smart thermostat that has Alexa built in, and I just have it completely turned off because it's my only non-Siri device in the whole house. But if hopefully an update will allow me to switch that to Siri, and that's one more place that I can quickly control things via Siri.
No, that's great. Any additions to that ecosystem are, I'm sure, very much appreciated.
The only other highlight really here is HomeKit doorbells added the ability to detect packages being dropped off, and then while in that camera view for HomeKit Secure Video, you can also control nearby devices such as lights and locks.
No, that's pretty awesome. Are there a lot of HomeKit compatible cameras nowadays? I remember like back in the day, it was pretty hard pressed to come across them, but
You're still pretty hard pressed. Pretty much Logitech makes the only ones.
yeah, okay. But hey, I guess if you paid up for one of those, it would be nice to know when your packages arrive too. That's pretty cool tech.
Yeah. Nice to get those notifications. All right, we'll quickly get through macOS Monterey. Most of the features we talked about from iOS and iPadOS, the FaceTime updates, messages, spatial audio, SharePlay, etc., that's coming to macOS. Universal control is the big thing, which is the ability to share a keyboard and mouse between multiple devices. So you can have multiple Macs or an iPad and one keyboard, one trackpad or mouse, and move this cursor across devices as if there are multiple monitors on a single device. And that includes the ability to drag and drop files across devices that way.
Yeah, that looked like witchcraft to me. I was pretty blown away by that.
It's gonna be a game changer in specific workflows. I've been in situations in the past where I've had to use third-party applications to facilitate that exact functionality. So it's nice to see it built in at the operating system level.
And is it just automatic?
Yes, it looked like there was no configuration required whatsoever. You just put the devices side by side, and then moving your mouse off the screen will give you some kind of indication on another device that you're kind of like breaking through some kind of membrane onto that. And once you've like confirmed you want to do that by giving it an extra swipe or whatever, then you've connected them and you can move back and forth.
That's the worst, most disgusting analogy I've heard for it. Pushing the mouse through a membrane. Ugh.
And it bursts through it.
Yeah. Suddenly you're
A ruptured
the
lung.
table.
All right.
Yeah.
You've also got the ability to AirPlay to Macs now, which seems like a feature that's been missing for a long time. So it's great that's finally there.
Yeah, no, that was another one that I was surprised wasn't there. But I guess, yeah, I don't know. Better late than never, though.
Shortcuts app is coming to macOS.
Woohoo!
They made very clear that this was replacing Automator. Automator's not going away yet, but they heavily implied it's going to be going away soon.
Man, Automator, every time I've tried to use it in like the last decade, it's just some sort of bug that's existed forever is there and it doesn't do what I want. Shortcuts is just so good on iOS, so God, it's going to be so incredibly useful on macOS.
I still think Automator has to have like one of the prettiest icons on the Mac, though. I'm going to miss that.
Yeah, it's a great icon.
But yeah, other than that, it's nice to see shortcuts get like the whole cross-platform love.
Yeah. And it seems like quite a bit in terms of functionality enhancements, because you can import all of your Automator scripts and they'll run within the Shortcuts app.
No way. Incredible.
Yeah.
So does it like convert it to a shortcut, or is it like a shortcut that runs an Automator script?
That's a good question.
If that makes sense.
They said it was possible to port it, but I didn't see exactly how that was being achieved.
Yeah, because it'd be pretty crazy if it broke out all like the individual steps into the shortcut steps, but who knows?
I bet there's a new shortcut option that's like run this script.
Right, yeah.
Just dragging it.
And I mean, yeah, that'll probably be more than sufficient for what people want it for.
And then probably the most controversial change across all their OSs, Safari's got a complete redesign with tab groups, and I don't even know how to describe how this works. I will say the highlight for me is that your URL bar is now at the bottom of the iPhone, which was one of my favorite features of Windows Phone back in the day.
Oh, so desperately needed to be there. I can't stand the behavior that the bar at the moment is hidden, and then if you want to tap it on something at the bottom of the web page, it pops up the bar instead of letting you tap on what's there, and then you have to scroll a bit higher and then tap it. So I presume that behavior is going to disappear with this URL bar movement. It's going to take some getting used to.
Yeah, no, it's so weird looking at it. Like, I mean, yeah, but like anything, I think I'll try to give it a fair shot. But yeah, it's definitely probably one of the more brave UI decisions Apple's made in a little while. Like it's kind of out there, but in a fun way.
It's definitely a rethinking of how people interact with their browsers. The idea of having tab groups, it almost seems like instead of bookmarking pages, you just go to that page and now it's in a tab group and you can go back to it anytime that way. So we'll see how this all works. But yeah, I'm optimistic. I think it's going to take a good amount of time to get used to, but it is very clean looking. So if for no other reason, I'm excited about it for that.
Yeah, my only hang up is like I'm not the biggest fan of the animation when you tap like the bar at the bottom, where it like summons it up to for like the text entry. It feels, maybe it's because I'm running this on a 6S, but it's I feel like I wish it was kind of just like above the keyboard or something. It shoots it right up to where it used to be almost, and it feels like it's kind of got confused where it should be. But it's other than that, I think I can get used to this.
And then another small one, low power mode coming to both macOS and the iPad.
Yeah, I'll take it. Like I'm curious, like if you have one of like the M1 MacBook Pros that already gets like that 20 hours of battery life or whatever, if you turn that on, is it is it going to be like self-sustaining or something? Like it's that's crazy.
Starts generating power at that hour.
Yeah, seriously, especially with the iPads too. Like they get pretty great battery life as well, and so just leaving that on, it would be pretty hilarious to see how good you'd get.
Yeah, I missed this in the keynote, but I've often complained that like photos will just be like churning away at something and like transcoding a video in the background, and when it's on battery, and there's just no reason for photos to be doing some CPU intensive task on battery. So hopefully the low power mode will solve that for me.
That's true, yeah. At least gives you the option to say no thank you.
All right. And they wrapped up their keynote today with a focus on some of the new developer technologies that I'm sure they'll dive into more throughout the week. They had a whole section on APIs. They were going flying by. I grabbed a couple that I noticed and then one that they dug into a little more. First of all, always-on apps for watchOS. Sounds like they're going to be allowing third-party apps to take advantage of the always-on screen, which will be nice. And then object capture, which was kind of the big thing they talked about in this segment. The ability to take a series of 2D images and generate a 3D model on the fly.
Yeah, that looked pretty nuts. Like one of those things that I don't think I'll personally use just because I don't, that's not my area of development, but I'm really excited to see what people do with that.
Maybe something that will be a little more up your alley. Concurrency coming to Swift.
Yeah, that looked like that's one of those things where I'm really looking forward to seeing like a lot of example projects and tutorials and seeing how people use that, because like concurrency is so fraught with opportunities to shoot yourself in the foot that I kind of want to make sure I'm understanding it properly and seeing how other people use it before I jump into it myself, because It seems like it's a pretty radical rethinking of how it's being done in Swift currently, and I can kind of understand, like, the current system obviously has its flaws, but I have a pretty good understanding of it right now. So I'm approaching this cautiously, but it seems pretty fascinating to see what they're doing with it.
Yeah, I can't wait to see a dozen slides of them showing this is how you used to do it, and it being a page long, and then this is the new way, and it's 5 lines.
Yes, that's my favorite. I just hope that, like, my only issue with those in the past has sometimes been like, those 5 lines are perfect for 99% of use cases, but like if you are in that 1% of use cases, like those 5 lines turn into 500. You know what I mean? Like where it's the old solution was at least predictable because you could do just about anything with it. But I have high hopes for this.
A bit of a revamp to the App Store coming. The ability to have multiple product pages. Seems like maybe a type of A/B testing with your app icon and title and description and photos, as well as the ability to have in-app events that will show up in the App Store.
Yeah, those were kind of interesting. Like I never took Apple as like kind of like an A/B testing kind of company. But like, not to say they shouldn't be. It seems like I kind of love playing around with that kind of stuff. I'm not sure how much it'll do for my kind of business, but for some businesses who love that kind of thing, like that sounds pretty fun to experiment with.
Yeah. And probably the biggest thing in this section, Xcode Cloud, which is their CI/CD solution with automated tests that can simulate running on every Apple device and platform in the cloud for you, and then distribute your builds to testers.
Yeah, that sounded like, because they acquired that company a little while back. Was it Build Buddy or whatever that did a similar thing?
That sounds right, yeah.
Yeah, this must be like the fruits of that acquisition, which seems really cool. Like I don't think it's coming until later this year, maybe, like we said earlier, but it looks like it's doing a crazy cool amount of stuff. I'm curious to see how that ends up, because that would be like a pretty new and powerful part of the iOS pipeline that just about any developer could leverage now.
Mm-hmm. And to be determined what the price is, but there will be a price, and they said they will announce that later this year.
Yes, hopefully that doesn't mean it's going to hurt.
Yeah, we'll see.
And the new name, Xcode Plus, right?
Plus.
Well, I mean, they're already competing. Like, since it's on the Mac, it's open enough that they're already competing with quite a few different services. So I assume they'd be smart enough to price it competitively.
Yeah, you would sure hope so.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
All right, well, we somehow managed to make it through everything.
Holy crap! Look at us.
It's probably like, what, midnight where you are now?
It's about 1, but yeah, it's not too bad.
Holy smokes. Thanks for staying on for so long.
Oh no, I'm lately my sleep schedule's all wacky anyway. I'll just make it up on the other side of the day.
Well, we'll quickly wrap this up then. I'm Jellywoot on Reddit and Twitter.
I'm James VDM on Reddit and on Twitter.
And I made a complicated I am that is on Reddit, and Christian Selig on Twitter. I don't know why I didn't standardize that.
And thanks so much for joining us again this year, Christian. It's always great to have you on.
Oh, genuinely, the pleasure's all mine. It's such a nice kind of debriefing from WWDC. It wouldn't feel the same without it.
And thanks as always for the brilliant app, of course, which we all use all the time.
Oh, thank you. Well, hopefully I'll have some more platforms to show it on in terms of iPad OS and maybe even the Mac next year. So the eternal promise will hopefully come true.